Hey everybody, welcome to Turks and Jerks. Ben Mankiewicz, Michael Schur, Jason Rubin. We'll begin with Turks. Michael.
Turks. My Turk of the Week comes from a game that wasn't that important. Well, I guess it was important to both teams because in the AFC or NFC South, you can win the division with 5 wins. Brian Hoyer, though, quarterback. Listen, I mean, it was not an enviable place to be.
He's your Turk?
He's my Turk of the Week.
Oy.
Yeah.
Oy.
He came. He came back. He came down the field with 44 seconds left.
Yeah, threw 3 pretty good throws.
Three pretty good throws. Pressure time. I mean, listen, he's a guy, they drafted Johnny Manziel. That's all anyone was talking about. Johnny football, Johnny football, Johnny football. He's not a dazzling quarterback. He's not going to another town in Ohio, Canton. I mean, that's not going to happen to him. But, I mean, he was on the road and took his team with 44 seconds down the field and put him in a position to win the game, which they did.
The first throw, I don't remember who the first throw was to. The second one was to Josh Gordon, got him over midfield. Then the one to Jordan Cameron got him where they used their last timeout, arguably questionably with 16 seconds. But it turned out that Patine did it right. They called the timeout with 16 seconds. And
You're going with Patine?
What do we go with?
Pettin.
Oh, is that? I don't. I watched the game, and I don't even remember.
It was definitely Pettin.
All right. I'll go with Pettin then.
Okay.
So the last throw was Jordan Cameron, 16 seconds left. That's right. And Pettin could have called the time. They could have run up and spiked the ball then, and then been able to run a play and call a timeout.
Yeah.
But they called the timeout right away. And then that last throw that Hoyer made, I think to Miles Austin.
Correct.
That was a great call because that was, and Austin is a smart player, and Austin knew, I don't care whether I get hit, I'm catching this, and I go right down.
And I'm going right down.
And I go right down. And then they spiked it easily. There was 5 seconds. They had time to play with. He could have taken another step. But that was a smart play to recognize that, because announcers don't understand it, and a lot of players don't understand how long plays take. So I heard an announcer yesterday talk about the field goal. There was like 7 seconds left. There'll still be a second left after this field goal, and it was like a 22-yard field goal.
Yeah.
And I thought, not all field goals take 6 seconds. This is going to take 3, right? And sure enough, it took 3. They don't, and to know that you can run a slant and catch it and gain 10 yards and run up and spike it, and it can be done in 11 seconds, which means even if you do it slow, it can be done in 14 seconds, and they still would have been able to get the kick.
And the whole offense knew. The whole offense
they were ready. They knew exactly.
They knew what they were supposed to do. So.
Because there was criticism by whoever was broadcasting that game before the game. It was a CBS game, but whoever was doing it before that drive, that Pettin should have used his timeouts on the front end. I thought, in his defense, it was a very tricky spot because they were around the 40, and you're like, well, we could stop them here right now, and I'd rather not use those timeouts until they get their first down, maybe inside the 30, and it's clear they're in field goal range. I thought he should have used one. As it turned out, everything worked out for him. But then when I thought he should have used one is when Mike Smith used one. And Mike Smith should not have used one. And if there's ever a person... Can we hold on?
Yeah.
All right, well,
thank you.
So I guess that's coming from the same game when we get to Jerks. That'll be featured later. Okay, so your Turk of the Week.
My Turk of the Week
But let me just say, I'm sorry, as we continue, why I'm surprised by Brian Hoyer is 2 terrible fourth quarter interceptions.
Yeah,
and
right. But that's part of what makes you the Turk of the Week, is you come back from that on the road. Everything is always down for Brian Hoyer, and he has had a successful season.
Yeah, there's something to sort of not letting. Certainly didn't let it get inside his head.
Didn't let it get inside.
The
his
announcers
head.
let him off the hook for the first interception, which was in the back of the end zone. They said Josh Gordon didn't go for the ball. It's a terrible throw. You don't roll out and throw back across the field.
Right.
And the second
Unless
interception.
you're Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
Right. And the second interception, nobody was within 40 yards of that guy.
Yeah.
But the second interception was
inexcusable.
They were both terrible.
They were both terrible, but that's what made him the Turk of the Week.
That game-winning drive also prevented all the headlines for "Put Johnny Football in," and every Browns
fan.
It
did.
Yeah,
I think
if they don't win that game, Johnny Football.
I think you're right.
At least comes into the equation again, and then there's a lot of problems going on.
So you guys both want Brian Hoyer now?
Yeah, I think Brian Hoyer.
Okay.
My Turk of the Week. Yeah.
My Turk of the Week is Chris Collinsworth.
Oh, really? Why?
How could that be your Turk of the Week? Because I think his Captain Obvious attitude makes for really good commentating. It's not anything new. There's nothing knowledgeable about really what he's saying, but I can't make him the Jerk of the Week because he smiles and he's happy and he just looks like he's having a good time. He also looks like
it's a
he
rough
has,
week in the NFL.
Right.
This is,
So he, for whatever reason, I just find it very comedic when Odell Beckham Jr. makes that catch and he goes, "That was a good catch."
Is that what he said?
I think. He said something along the lines of, "That's not that easy to do."
Yeah.
Really? Did you know?
I think there's inflection. I think Chris Collinsworth is one of the best color commentators out there. I think he's really good. I think I'd give him an A-. I think he is in. I think he does simultaneously makes the game accessible for people watching Sunday night who aren't gigantic football fans, who aren't playing fantasy, while also respecting people who have watched 1,000 football games and understand something about it. I think he's really good. I think he manages to be critical without being condescending or being cruel, and keeps the game relevant. And I think there is an inflection in his voice which tells you that he wasn't underplaying something like that.
Right.
So I hear the Captain Obvious criticism. I think he's just really solid.
I'm not a big fan
way.
of his, but he's having a great. This sounds ridiculous. He's having a great year.
Great year for commentating.
And because their games, and I may be wrong about this, it seems to me that the Sunday night games have, by and large, been awful this year. They've been
not
blowouts.
just Sunday night, all primetime games.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Blowouts.
And what he's done is he's managed to keep me, and I haven't been gambling on every single game, but he's managed to keep me interested in these games. And he and Al Michaels are a good pair. They're conversationalists. I like that. I do just get tired of his predictions, though, of what play they're going to run are uncannily good. I think
he's. I don't know. I think he's in the upper echelon. I think he's really.
There's not that much, not competition, I should say. But when Phil Simms is Monday night, and is he Monday night?
No, he's Thursday.
He's
in
Thursday.
the main Sunday game.
Sunday.
But the thing about and Gruden is there's a caricature quality, like a guy trying to imitate a guy. I feel like he's trying to. I believe he was better before. He's like getting into being the John Madden guy, and he seems to be huskying his voice even a little bit. It's a plan. You're like he's doing that thing. I don't know, and it's a really hard job. And Collinsworth has also done something that almost no former athletes do. Is that I would say Chris Collinsworth now is a broadcaster.
Oh, I thought you were going to say smile.
He also hasn't put any weight on since
he looks great. All right, that's an interesting call. I mean, Michael and I will talk afterwards. That's how terrible a jerk that Turk of the Week that was. But nonetheless, nice job.
That's okay. Where in your fantasy commentator draft does Collinsworth go next year?
I mean, he goes early, but you overpay for him.
No, I'm going to go with Tony Romo because the game, you shouldn't win that game. And they're down 21-10 on the road. The Cowboys are now unbeaten on the road. He was 18 of 26 for 275 yards. He threw 4 touchdowns. He got helped by his, obviously, world-class receiver.
His line is unbelievable. That last drive?
The last drive. But he also didn't throw. And a couple of fakes where he's like, nope,
right,
okay.
Right.
And there was time to take a sack or throw the ball away. And where he has been criticized, overly criticized, he's made some gargantuan public mistakes, right? Or bad play, not mistakes like in life, but on the field. And his mistakes have been glaring, and they have caused tremendous consternation in Dallas, and because it's Dallas, all around the NFL. That said, he's a sensational quarterback, and the criticism has always been overdone. And so I find myself, despite my innate, as an American, hatred for the Cowboys, I end up rooting for Tony Romo because I feel like he's ganged up on. So I see a game like this where they're on the road, they're down twice by 11 points on the road, and he hangs in there and he takes them down after the Giants finally take the lead with 3 minutes to play, and that drive was easy.
It was 27th game-winning fourth-quarter overtime drive since 2006,
and again,
making him the league leader since 2006 in game-winning or overtime drives.
And his, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. The incompletions seem smart. Everything seems smart. And this guy is playing with a back. Like, I wouldn't draft him in fantasy because I thought there's no way he's going to. Like, his injuries are. So he's tough. Like, you can't. And he had a QBR of 92.2 and a rating of 143.4.
143.4, right?
I mean,
so
Jesus, that's amazing.
That's 7.2 away from perfect.
I think, perhaps more. Or maybe it's over perfect.
It's so
I find
ridiculous.
that DeMarco Murray is so damn important to that because in the past with Tony Romo, at least since 2006, he didn't really have someone to run it off, like hand the ball off to take some of that workload off him.
It's a great point. Someone reliable too. I mean,
right.
He wasn't fumbling.
So the fact that DeMarco Murray can get the ball on 1st and 10 and it becomes 2nd and 4 instead of Tony Romo getting backed up to 3rd and 15 half the time when he was trying to make these game-winning drives, and this happens in the playoffs a lot too for the Cowboys, and their defense needs to step up for him at that point. But DeMarco Murray is as much the key as Des Bryant, and they made the comparison to Smith and Michael Irvin is DeMarco Murray and Des Bryant right now. They're accounting for like 50% of the team's total.
And then I've said this before on the show, and I'll wrap this up by repeating it, because Jerry Jones was a strange owner, and but that said, I still have something makes me not hate Jerry Jones.
Because he was a big Bill Clinton supporter.
He was a big Bill Clinton supporter. He was a big. He did a great thing. He did a very nice thing for my father, and he's funny. Like he's an idiot and he makes huge mistakes.
Oh, I thought you meant like.
But he's funny, and so all those parts that I like about him. But it's crazy that he's involved with the coaches on the sideline. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That should never happen. That said, he's stuck with Jason Garrett, and guys, almost all other owners fire that guy, and he didn't. And so some of this credit for Tony Romo's development should go to Jason Garrett, who was given a chance to learn his job, and it's tough, and we see it with coaches who make, with Belichick and Pete Carroll, and maybe, although I think not now, Jim Caldwell, but maybe guys when they are in year 4 or 5, it's a hard job being an NFL coach, and they need to be given some time to learn it, and maybe Garrett has learned it, and being an offensive coordinator and a former quarterback has developed something that maybe Jason Garrett is playing some role in sort of Tony Romo's development where these mistakes. Now we got 5 games left where Tony Romo could throw some hideous picks. But I'll be rooting for him, and anyway, he's my turn to the win.